Hello, everybody, and welcome back for our second episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast today. And if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to their YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Now, as always, you guys already know that I have another amazing guest for you guys. And as always, they're not only the ones out here talking the talk, but they walk the walk and out here changing lives one heartbeat at a time. And so now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. And also, this is a live stream. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. Now, without further ado, guys, please help me welcome my next guest, Jennifer Young. Jennifer, how you doing, friend?
I am good. How are you?
I am doing amazing. Yeah.
As always, as always.
Yes, yes, yes. And we are here, so I'm even doing even better, right? We get to have an amazing conversation. We talked before, and I tell you, I really enjoyed our conversation. So I am only, I can only imagine what our conversation is going to be like today.
I know, yeah. Our pre-meet ended up being a little longer than a normal pre-meet, I think.
These things happen.
It happens. We
Yeah,
connected.
yeah.
It's okay.
It's a whole vibe, girl. It's a whole vibe. I'm telling you.
I
You
know.
know, that's the reason why I love doing the pre-meets too, because it gives us an idea of how to talk to one another, see if it's going to be a good vibe, and how the conversation is going to unfold and things like that. And I was just like, this is going to be
Yep.
real good.
Same.
now, bef-
Yeah.
now, before we get started, introduce yourself to the audience. Tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Yeah, so my name is Jen, and I live in Vegas. Yep, we there's other things to do in Vegas than the Strip, so it's sunny Vegas here. But I was married to an alcoholic, and he unfortunately passed away. And so I decided soon after that to take the grief and the energy and the sadness and find a purpose for it. And so I created Connect Mio, which is an app that brings families, loved ones, anyone who is dealing with an alcoholic, um, community and resources, like hardcore resources to counselors and therapists, and maybe it's a life coach, maybe it's an attorney, maybe it's a um, why am I blanking now? Like a rehab or a detox center. So
Hmm.
you have the options, like you have a place to go to get the tools that you need for whatever path is the right path for you.
Yeah.
Um, I think because I did so much grieving while he was still with us, that I was able to take that with me, and really am so passionate now about helping people who are in the situation that I was in, because it can be a very lonely place.
Yes. Now, what was that like? Living with an alcoholic, dealing with the day-to-days and things like that, and still trying to maintain your mental stability.
I think everyone talks about boundaries, but boundaries is a very real thing, and it's very hard to find the boundaries that are right for you because everybody's boundaries are different. Like
Right.
it just everybody's situation is different. There's no one right way to live with an alcoholic, and there's no one right way to get out of the situation. And even if you want to get out of the situation,
Hmm.
um, mine was boundaries. Um, we I set clear boundaries at the end, and I think that's what really helped me mentally. I don't want to say prepare because I don't think anyone's ever really prepared for losing a spouse.
Right.
Um, but it gave me some sense of power and security and safety, um, knowing that I could set these boundaries, and if something happened to him or when something happened to him, that I was going to be okay.
Yeah. Now, it leads me to my next question because, you know, being someone who has struggled or used to struggle with alcoholism for over 20 years of my life, right?
Mhm.
And I never really understood the impact that I was having on other people and
Mhm.
things like that, because for me, I guess alcohol was an escape from reality for a bit, right? To numb,
Yeah.
the pain and things like that I had endured. In your thoughts, do you do you understand the root cause of why he began drinking, and you know does do you believe that he understood the impact that it had on you as well?
Not fully. No. I
Mhm.
think I think I think he understood that it had an impact because his circle got very, very small.
Mm,
People who hit friends kind of distance, you get to that point where friends kind of distance yourself from you, family members who just can't deal with you because they don't understand it. Like so he had an understanding of what the impact was on others, but I don't think he really understood it because if he really understood it, he he would be you would be able to make the change because I can't make the change for him, right?
right,
Like
right.
any alcoholic is out there. Like you want to help them, you want to make the change for them, like you want to be strong enough and be like, I can help you do this, but at the end of the day, they have to be the one that makes the change.
Mm. This is very true. And just in your thoughts on when it comes down to alcohol or any sort of addiction and things
Yeah.
like that, do you think that there's an illusion of control with individuals that
Well, you
use?
you might know an answer to that better, but from my perspective, yes, it is the one thing that they can control, right? Like their world may be spinning out of control or they may be facing depression or like mental illness or any
Mm,
of those kind of things, but the one thing they can control is the addiction.
mm. I want to add to that, right? Because I
Yeah.
think you're right. You're right in so many ways, but I want to add to that as well because I
Mhm.
think there's another side to it too. And we're going to speak from my own experience.
Mhm.
I will say that I thought I had control. I
Mhm.
really did, but over a period of time, what I did notice is that the increase of
Mhm.
my intake of alcohol, right? So I would, and it started off just like most things, right? Started off one or two beers here and there, maybe
Mhm.
doing it sociably
Mhm.
and things like that. And maybe you go through something, right?
Mhm.
Have yourself maybe more than one drink or something like that. You go into oblivion, of course. The whole blackout phase and things like
Mhm.
that. And and over a period of time, it was just, I don't know. I would go to work like I would drink 20 hours a day,
Mhm.
right? I would drink 20 hours a day, and that was my excuse for a
Yeah.
lot of things that I did. Now, as someone who's witnessed that and everything, did you find it hard to set certain boundaries with yourself or with other people? Or and the reason why I ask, right?
Mhm.
One main reason. I used to hear people make excuses for other people,
Mhm.
right? Oh, he's just having a rough day,
Yeah.
He'll be okay, or and it doesn't matter if it's man or female. I've heard the
Mm-mm.
excuses
Yeah.
across the board. Did you find yourself doing things like that?
I'm not gonna lie. At first, it was, we're not gonna make it to this event because, he's not feeling great, or I would be too exhausted from, managing the house, taking care of the kids, running my full-time job, right?
Mm,
Um, but towards the end, no, the boundaries were really hard. Like I felt bad about setting those boundaries, but they were so important for me and my kids
Hmm.
to create a safe space, knowing that no matter what we did, whether I made excuses, whether I, went above and beyond or, took care of him or canceled plans or whatever, that me setting those boundaries did not affect the behavior of somebody else.
Mm.
And that was profound for me at the end, and I think that's when, honestly, that's when the grieving process started, when he was still alive. And I
Yeah.
realized that no matter which side I was on, whether I had these hard boundaries where I'm not going to do these things for you that I feel were enabling at some point because we've all been there.
Hmm.
And so as soon as I set those boundaries, that for me was the part of grief. I really do feel like I did a lot of grieving while he was still here, which I'm grateful for because now I get to use that energy and that strength to help other people get through it.
So I love that. I love your strength. I love the fact that you was able to find a way to be able to
Mhm.
use that for other people because of, you know, honestly, Jen, there's a lot of people out there that don't, right?
Yeah.
They don't. There's a lot of anticipatory grief that, pretty much it's an acceptance of the unexpected, right? Or
Hmm.
maybe it's an acceptance of the expected, right? Because deep down inside, we we have a pretty good idea that this person may not come back if they don't stop.
Hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't want to say it, but you are 100% right. Like, you don't want to
yeah,
say it out loud, but we know.
yeah. Now, how did that affect the relationship with with your kids?
It was really, I think it was hard seeing that. I mean, obviously it was hard for them to see it. He was
Hmm.
their stepdad. So, it was an interesting dynamic. When I started creating those boundaries,
Hmm.
um, I made it so that every week, no matter what, no matter if he was not on a bender or if he was or what, it didn't matter. Every week, the three of us, four of us, I have three kids, the four of us would go out to dinner somewhere, and it was a um, no judgment zone. So whatever came up in that conversation, in that dinner, that space, anyone could
Hmm.
let anything go. And then when we walked away, we could, they could pick at each other and, the sibling stuff. Um, but that changed the narrative for me and the kids.
Yeah. Now, coming to a place of healing,
Hmm.
and finally saying, you know what, I'm going to use this as help to help other people like myself. When did that happen? Was it like a long process? Because and I want to go back to after that one, I want to go back to something that you had said earlier, just to give some sort of context to the audience.
Yeah.
But when did you come to that point though?
I remember the exact date. It was he was still alive, and I was going out of town for work. Um, and all three of my kids were going to be gone. I mean, they're teenagers now. I have 19 and two 17-year-olds, but they were all three going to be gone. And I could tell he was starting a bender, and
Hmm.
I didn't have anyone to watch the dog. And all of a sudden, I just went, I need a community of people who understand what it's like to live with an alcoholic and who I could call up and be like, "Hey, can you come check on my dog?"
Yeah,
Because I couldn't call Rover. I mean, what am I supposed to put in the text message? Hey, there may be someone passed out on the floor. There may not be. Like, it was just one of those things where I was like, What? Why can't be the only one?" Like I cannot
Mhm.
be the only one who's dealing with this, and I need to figure out how we can bring all of us together and bring some light to this situation because we need help too, and there's not a lot of help out there for us.
Mhm.
If you're loving an
Absolutely.
addict or if you need help with an addict, I mean, the number of times I called um, the medics to come to the house, I mean, I can't even remember, but they couldn't take him because he was conscious enough to say he didn't want to go. His vitals
Mhm.
weren't bad enough for them to take him. And I'm like, well, where am I supposed to take him? I couldn't check him into rehab because they have to willingly want to go,
Mhm.
right? So there was the real hardcore resources for for were lacking.
Mhm. Did you ever ponder doing an intervention with him, or was that out of the?
Oh no, we did multiple times. I mean, he went
Mm.
to detox rehab 4 times, in and out of the hospital. I mean, it was an ongoing situation, but again, it was one of those things where who can I call to get help, like physical help? Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So that's again, that's where the whole app came from was like, uh, people they need to do mindset work. And who do they turn to for that? Maybe you need
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you need we need those resources. And maybe you need to get out of a bad situation, but who are you supposed to call?
Mhm.
Having an attorney in in the app as a resource can give you like, first steps, right? Like,
Mhm.
even if you wanted to do just like a one-off like strategy consultation, like those are the things that people need if whichever direction they want to go. If they want to stay and they want to get their finances in order, you need to talk to an estate attorney. Like you need to make sure all of that is set and taken care of and you feel secure because the situation that you're living in just it feels out of control.
Right. Right. Wow.
Yeah. Yes,
I love the
it
fact.
it came from a dog, the dog not being able to find anyone to watch my dog. Long story short.
I mean, but I love that because it opened up the doors, right? Because on one end, and correct me if I'm wrong, on one end, you've already anticipating your spouse not being able to take care of the dog
Yeah.
and going, you know what, let me just think ahead and get somebody to go over to do this. So, and to me, that is brilliant, right? That is so brilliant that you came to that realization. And the reason why I say that, because look, I still know people um, that struggle with alcoholism and
Hmm.
struggle with addiction and things like that. And I know couples, I know a lot of couples,
Yeah.
um, whereas either the man or the woman that are dealing with their couples and things like that. What I did find the most, and I don't know how common this is, so I'm going to leave this up to you for your thoughts. A lot of times when someone is in a situation and they have a spouse that is struggling with a sort of addiction, they tend to want to see it from their perspective. So what ends up happening is that they end up partaking in said addiction to accommodate the person that they're with.
Hmm.
How common is that?
Very. It's very common. I would say that a lot of our activities were definitely centered around drinking.
Hmm, okay. And why do you think that is? Just to have an understanding, or do they think that it's in a way of trying to connect with their partner on a deeper level?
I don't, I think everyone probably has a different viewpoint on that. I think mine was, I think it was when we did it, I think it was because I wanted to show him how much I loved him. And
Mm,
he enjoyed doing that. And so it was something that, I mean, I could do. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I didn't have that addictive, I don't know, science behind it. I haven't gotten into it. I do know that, like some people are more susceptible to being addicted to things. I
mhm,
mean, uh, from my from my perspective, and I do think everyone kind of has a different, like, yeah, maybe people are trying to get into it to see like what is it that they love about it.
mhm,
From my perspective, I think it was, I just I he loved doing it, and I somehow wanted to be part of that thing that he loved.
mm. Okay. And we got a comment from Anne Marie Jacobs. She's another podcaster, deaf doula, in out of Canada. And I
Nice.
just had her on the show. Amazing person. So if you ever get a chance, please try to connect with her.
Yeah, I would
Um,
love to.
so she says for her stepmother, it was defeat. She said, "Can't beat him, might as well join him."
Mm, yeah.
You want to share your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah. So I do I think a lot of people feel that way. A
Hmm.
lot of people feel that way. And it's a way to connect with them. When you try so hard to get them to change their mind, or get out of their rut, or maybe they're, again, it's a depression or something happened to them, and you're trying to find ways to get in to help them break that cycle.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, if you us on this side too get to the point where we're just like, again, defeated, and you're just like, I've tried everything. I might as well
Mm.
just I might as well just do what they're doing, and hope maybe, and maybe this is how they kind of see it. Hope that maybe they see me doing what they're doing, and then they don't like it, and then they can correct their own path. I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
that's kind of how my thought process would go. Would be like, okay, I'll get as drunk as he does, and see if he likes the way I am.
Mm.
And
Mm.
if he doesn't, then maybe that would flip his, cycle. I don't know. I didn't try that, but that's what would go through my head, as when someone says I might as well join them. Yeah.
See, I like that. I like the fact that you brought that up because I think for a lot of individuals that think this could be a very strong train of thought, right? Very strong
Hmm.
mindset to go, you know what? I'm gonna do it to you to see if you like it if I when I do it to you. Not
Hmm.
understanding that the person that you're doing it to, they may not care.
They won't care.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you
Fighting
know,
fire with fire never works. You're right. They won't care because they
yeah.
can't see past it. And I think that, yeah, fighting fire with fire never works. You're right. I think it's just they can't see past it. And
Hmm.
so, yeah.
I mean that makes sense, right? Because I know a lot of people, and you got to forgive me when I say this, but I see a lot of people doing that, and I sometimes think the same thing as Anne Marie just put up there, and as you just
Hmm.
said, they're like, if I'm gonna do it to them, and I'm just like, yeah, don't do that, don't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Because it never ends well. It never ends well, right?
No.
And so, as being someone who's a spectator in this world, it's kind of hard to tell a person not to do it because there's a lot of times they won't listen to you
Hmm.
and things like that. They're like, "Well, I'll show you." And I've actually seen it go in reverse sometimes. Like, I'm gonna share this story.
Yeah.
So I had a friend. And she was married to her husband for I think at that time 7 years. Now, 6 out of those 7 years he had been drinking. I
Mhm.
would say longer than that. Because I used to watch him buy those little shooters and things like that and drink it. But hey, hell, I was with him half the time. He was like, I just can't let her find out. So I
No
was like,
judgment. Yeah.
no judgment, no judgment. And he'd be over there drinking them, and I would look at him. See, I always had common sense. I would look at him and go, if she finds out, she's not going to be happy, right? Oh man, I know you're not going to say anything, and I was like, no, I'm not going to say anything. Here you go, right? So I'm just
Mhm.
enabling as well, and
Mhm.
so and he would go home, and I would tell him at a certain point, hey man, you should stop drinking, right? You should
Yeah.
really stop drinking because if you go in there like that, not only are you going to get in trouble, but I'm going to get in trouble
Yeah,
with
you
you.
are too. Yeah.
I don't need to be an accessory to a crime here, right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, there was a whole lot of Tony. He went out with you. You were supposed to look. I was like, I was a grown man, you know. And I would not take any sort of responsibility for what I've just done. And so I watched the same friend. Now here's a reverse. You tell me what you think about this. I actually found it pretty funny, but it really wasn't. But I'm laughing about it now because they're both in a better place. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually as well. They
Hmm.
both have stopped drinking and doing the drugs and things like that. But she told me one day, she kept trying to tell me for the longest time, for a little better part of a year. She goes, you know what? I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. And that's all she
Hmm.
kept saying. And then next thing you know, now not only am I drinking with him, but now I'm drinking with her,
Yeah.
right? And so I saw the roles reverse. And she got so bad, he looked at me and was like, I don't want to do this no more. So he
Hmm.
ended up quitting drinking and she became the alcoholic. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, and he looked at me, he was like, look, as my friend, don't go out drinking with my wife anymore. I said, you do realize I'm the only person that keeps her from getting her little butt in trouble every time that we go out, right? He was like, yeah, but every time she comes back and everything, she's really drunk. I said, yeah, kind of funny. I used to tell you the same thing, and now I'm looking out. I was like, I'm not really quite sure what I'm supposed to do here or anything, but you think we can work this out? Because
Yeah.
man, this is hurting me.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Have you ever seen that? Like now you understand why I was laughing, right? Because
Hmm.
believe it or not, it is very common
Yeah.
for that to happen. But what are your thoughts on that though? I
I
mean,
think that's a rare situation that he noticed it and was like, I don't like it.
mhm,
I mean,
yeah,
that's rare because most of the time, I don't think they would notice. I don't think the alcoholic would notice that the other person was going deep to get them to notice. But hey, it worked for them.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I watched her become an alcoholic, and I watched him quit because of her.
Yep.
And I just sat back and I just went, huh? No one will ever believe this one. I mean, you
No.
can't even write this script out, right? Like this is just funny to me now, you
Yeah.
know. But I never laughed at him. Although I did. I did. Okay, I did. I laughed at him. I was like,
I mean, I
because
don't I don't think it's the healthiest way to go about it, but at the end of the day, there's like and I'll preach this till I mean forever. There's no right way to get through to
right,
someone.
right.
So
No,
if it worked for them, it worked for them.
yeah, it was just funny the way that it worked for them, right? Because I was like, well, he was the alcoholic.
Hmm.
She was the one complaining about him being an alcoholic. And then she became the alcoholic, which forced him to quit being an alcoholic. Like he
Hmm.
quit. He's like, I don't want to drink anymore. Like she makes me look bad. I was like, that's funny because I listened to her say the same thing about you, and now I'm listening to you say the same thing about her. Um, I
Hmm.
was like, okay, well, I'm just going to let this thing play itself out because at this point, this is just funny. This
Yeah.
is just freaking hilarious. Now, let's get into the grieving process.
Hmm.
What was that like for you? Because you're grieving someone before his
Hmm.
unfortunate passing. You're grieving someone that is already alive. I've had conversations about with my colleagues about this. How do you grieve someone that is still alive?
With a lot of love.
Mm.
Yeah.
And do you think that is still? Do you think it's similar to someone who has physically lost someone?
I don't, you know what? I don't know. I think a lot of people grieve someone while they're still here because they know he had alcoholism so bad that he actually had what was called wet brain. So it was
Mm.
al alcohol induced dementia. Yeah. Which I had to dig for research on that. It's not as common as you think, but it is out there. And it took me forever to find research on that. To the point of like couldn't would pick up his phone and couldn't remember like the number to get into it. Like that was the grieving process. So it reminded me a lot of people who are living with family members who do have dementia, who do go through that grieving process every single day that they are still with them. Um, and a lot of love. Like it really is just that point of unconditional love.
Ah, I just put that in the comment section over here
Yeah.
because I wanted people to ponder on that for a minute,
Hmm.
and maybe just maybe someone out there may be experiencing something like that.
Yeah. And
You
it,
know.
it took me a really long time to find the research on it, which is again
Mhm.
why it's so important for me in the app to have resources because no one alcoholic has all the same symptoms.
Right.
They just don't. And I started noticing things pretty early on when he would forget things.
Hmm.
Um, and it would get better, and then it would get worse, and then it would get better, and then it would get worse. And it was just this back and forth, specifically when he was going through benders. But the ammonia on the brain builds up to the point where it it they can't remember
Hmm.
things. Um, and they do have medicine for that. But it's not. You, it only works if they take it.
This is very true. This is very true
Yeah,
because
and yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. No, no, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and it only works if they take it, but I can't make him take it, right? I mean, there were
Hmm.
points where I was like, but then so the this again, the app, my goal is to help people put together some of the pieces
Hmm.
um of what it is doing to their body and what medications they're being prescribed and which ones interfere with each other ones. Like
Hmm.
it's so it's so complicated because they're never honest when they go in for an ailment,
Right. Right.
just like any addict isn't, right? But
Yeah.
then you have doctors prescribing all of these different things that, you know, should probably not be prescribed together.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Because I know when it comes down to people, I know we like to say, we have this term of doctors are practicing medicine. They don't necessarily have all of the answers and things like that. They go off of hypotheticals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or scientific theories. We
Mm-hmm.
we have we have a control, we have this theory, we have this, projected outcome, and then we're going to do all of these experiences, or experiments, and see where it's going to go, and then we can make a decision from there. Um, and I'm gonna pop this question up here, after I get your thoughts on this real quick. So why do you think it's so common for doctors to want to prescribe medication for individuals who may need more verbal therapy or physical therapy as well as mental therapy? Why is that such a common thing, do you think?
I can only speak from my experience, but I know that my husband was very smart. Like worked at Microsoft for many, many years. Super
Right,
smart,
right.
like partner there. And he knew exactly what to tell the therapists,
Mm,
what they wanted to hear. And so, I think that that has a lot to do with it. Like the most of the, I don't want to say most of the time, but quite a few people who are addicts, they're very smart. Like they are very smart people. They know what they're doing is
mhm,
damaging them. They know it's hurting relationships, but they get sucked into that cycle, and they know what to say to stay in the cycle. Like they just
mm,
he knew how to put everyone else's mind at ease, tell everyone what they needed to hear or wanted to hear
mhm.
to keep himself isolated and continue with his addiction.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. I thought I was good at drinking, but actually I can't even say I was a functional alcoholic. I drank 20 hours a day for a very long time.
That's not,
And
yeah, that's a lot.
yeah, and I went to work and everything, and during my lunch breaks and stuff like that, I would go over to the liquor store and buy those little shooters. And trust me, I was out digging ditches in 100-degree heat and things like that, and no one really came and checked up on me.
Hmm.
And I would go find myself in like a little shade spot out there while I was digging trenches with this pickaxe, 100-degree heat. Take me a shot and things like that, and
Oh,
but that's what I did though. That's what I
hmm.
did, right? Like you got to remember, like by the time I would stop drinking, it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. And I would have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Oh,
right, to go to work, right? So I would take
yeah,
a nap and get up, and I would finish the alcohol that I didn't finish two
yeah.
hours before, like and it was always the same tall boy. I have a type of tall boys, a liter of tequila, and maybe some Jack Daniels, and
Yeah.
something like that, and I would finish that off and go to work. Now, before we get into that right there, I want to put this up here because Ann just asked a
Mm.
pretty good question. Were you able to reconcile your loved one misremembering things, wondering if they were lying or not? Ooh, I like that question.
Um, yes, I was. Like we were an open book. So we had access to, we'd been together long enough that, I knew what was happening and our phones, and I knew he wasn't lying.
Hmm.
Um, because you could see the personality shift happen. And I think that's where a lot of people who are living with alcoholics get scared because you can see the personality shift. They either get angry or they get aggressive or they whatever.
Hmm.
That's your body is going through it, it's changing, it changes. Um and that's just it's a complete personality shift. If you ever been with an alcoholic, whether like he was he wasn't a violent alcoholic, he isolates. So when he went on a bender, he isolated and became a completely different person than he normally was, which was outgoing, and the life of the party and talkative. And so that was his personality switch. I used to call it a switch. And I
Hmm.
think that's where other people who have alcoholism or addiction, when they get in their, used to call it his zone, the switch happens. And sometimes it's
Hmm.
aggressive, and sometimes it it's an angry personality. Um, but yes, I was able to know he wasn't lying, because he would ask for help. Like, he would be
Hmm.
like, I can't remember how to tie a tie. Like, he had to go to an event, and he was like, I can't remember how to tie a tie. And
Wow.
I said, well, did you watch some YouTube? And I remember having this conversation with him. I said, did you watch some YouTube videos? And he was coming off of a bender.
Hmm.
And so, he was taking, the meds for the ammonia on his brain, but I hadn't completely cleared it, right? And he was like, I can't remember how to tie a tie. I can't remember the passcode to my phone. Or, I mean, there were those kind of things that were triggering to me, going, this is this is happening. This is the grief. Like, this is happening, and you have love and you have patience.
Mm. I like that, because I think a lot of times people see these things happening,
Mhm.
and one of many other things come in mind. They see it happening, they just choose to dismiss it,
Mhm.
and pretty much hope for the best, or they see that it's happening and they are afraid to say something,
Mhm.
or three, they see that it's happening and choose to let that person hit that rock bottom before they're going for help. But everybody's mental capacity and the way that we think about these things are totally different, right?
Mhm.
My approach may be a little different than most people's. I look, when it comes down to it, I tell people, look, don't take the shovel away,
Mm.
don't take it away. They're just like, what do you mean? Let them hit their version of rock bottom.
Mhm.
And the reason why I do that, Jennifer, is because I need you to want to get the help.
Mhm.
I don't want to put you in a position to where I'm giving you options or
Mhm.
anything like that. I want to let you know that I'm here, but I
Mhm.
don't want to give you options. You know what I'm saying? I want you to hit your version of rock bottom. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not going to let you kill yourself or anything like that, but I do want you to hit that version of rock bottom because, for one, it changes the dynamic of how your life goes. Reason
Yes.
being, you got some of the most biggest recovery coaches out there right now,
Mhm.
from Rob Kelly to, you know, there's a couple guys in New Zealand, there's people in Australia, people all across the world. You got recovery centers all over the United States, people that have gone through some of the most
Mhm.
craziest stuff in their addictions.
Yeah.
But again, that is my approach. I have more of an, hey, I'm gonna let you hit the wall type approach, right? And I'm gonna be there and look at you when you're sitting down there and going, "Yep, did you learn something?" Because I'm gonna make fun of you, right? When you I am. I'm going to make fun of you. And the
Yeah.
reason being because I come from a place of understanding, right? And the
Yes.
reason why I'm making fun of you because during the whole time I'm telling you exactly what's going to happen. You chose not to listen. So when you hit that version of rock bottom, you find yourself looking up to the ceiling, going, I don't know what happened. I'm going to look at you and go, yeah,
Uh,
you ever heard that term self inflicted wound, right? All the worst ones? Yeah. Ta-da! How do you feel now? I bet you won't do that again, will you?
yeah.
And then they're like, I don't want to do it no more. Okay, now let's go and get the work done. Reason being is because it makes for great stories that they can tell people about what that looked like. Like I
Yep.
love it when they can use their stories to help other people, what I'm saying, understand, but also realize that there's help out there. There's the Jennifers out there with the apps, and there's other individuals out there that are willing to walk with you during this course while you go through your withdrawals, while you go
Yeah.
through, the phases that you need to go through, which leads me now to my next question.
Mm.
Can you, and I want to word this, and if you say no, I'm totally okay with it as well. Okay.
Okay.
But when you got the news that he had passed, what was it like for you?
Freeing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. It was freeing. I think I wasn't here. I wasn't home. And he was alone. I think it was the first time he had been alone in years. And I think he knew what he was doing.
You think it was intentional?
Hmm. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Oh, yeah.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it
Thanks
was
for
it was freeing. I mean, it really was. It was like it was over and it was time for me to help other people.
yeah.
Hmm.
I love your heart.
Ah, I need my kids to teach me how to do though.
I don't know. They got emojis for these things now.
I
Okay, they
know,
got
right? I don't need
emojis.
to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
They got emojis for them. I'm like, emoji.
emoji. Yeah, you know what?
Emoji.
I think more people need to be okay with saying it was freeing because it was. Like I knew that it was time for me to help other people and that it was bad
Mhm.
enough that he was done. He was ready.
I think that's the hardest part um that people can accept,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Saying that this person was ready, saying that no, you don't understand. This person has been struggling with this demon, and I that's exactly what I
It
call it too,
is.
right?
It is. Ugh.
It's a demon. It really is, right? Um, and I know, maybe not to the extent of most people, but
Yeah.
I had to fight multiple demons when it came down to alcohol,
Mhm.
and things like that. But what I found is that I was covering up a lot too. I was
Mhm.
covering up a lot of hurt.
Mhm.
I was covering up the fact of that I didn't know who I was.
Yep.
I was covering up the fact that I was afraid of being hurt,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't want anybody to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why he isolated.
Mm,
You pointed out all the reasons that he isolated. You just don't want anyone to know that because it's not the best version of you, right? And we always
right.
want people to see the best versions of us.
Yes, and I want to add to that because there's a perception versus reality that comes along
Hmm.
with that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because what we may perceive as the best version of ourselves, because, and the reason why I say this, you ever hear that term, you know what I'm saying, when, oh, they got that Superman mentality
Yep.
or, complex when they start drinking and things like that. People become a lot more
Yes.
brave, a lot more confident and not realizing that if they look back on on the footsteps, that they all crooked, right? They all crooked. They've been
Oh,
stepping
yes.
somewhere down there, right? But it's a false sense of confidence that comes along with that, and
Yeah.
so in our mind, it's like, oh no, you don't understand. I am just what I am. I am the shit, right?
Hmm.
And people in reality are looking at you going, dude, this guy has a problem, or person has a problem, right?
Yes. No, 100%. You're
Yeah.
totally right. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
his he was the fun guy. Like
Mm,
that is how he wanted to come across to people. Like that was the best version of him, was the fun guy. Drinking made him isolate. And so he didn't want to go out and have a bender or have people over or go like visit people or any of those kind of things when he was, on a bender or drinking heavily, because he wasn't the fun guy that people enjoyed being around and that he enjoyed being. So I agree with you. Like I ran across quite a few people in my life where they think they're having the best time and they're the shizzit, and I'm like, you did not see yourself last night.
oh, you know, you know what? You know what, Jennifer? I'm thinking you're calling me out. Did you know me back then or something? Did we
I'm like,
know
there are a couple,
each
there are a
other?
few that I'm like, oh, I don't think you
Yeah.
really know.
Look, I still got people telling me stories about 20 some years ago, and I'm just like,
Oh
you sure?
Lord.
You sure it was that way? They were like, oh no, you don't understand, Tony. You're like, ooh, you are a
Yeah.
handful. And I was
You
like,
but you're like, wait, I don't remember it that
I
way.
don't remember none of these things, right?
Ah,
Oh
oh my
my,
God, hilarious.
no, no. Look, I tell people this story all the time, and I'm pretty sure there's a video running around. But I can't believe
Oh,
we're
oh
sharing this
no.
on. I'm sharing this on a live stream. So a long time ago, when I was really into drinking and things like that, a buddy of
Mhm.
mine came over to the house. Like, hey man, we're going to the club tonight. I said, okay. It was a little country, western, hip hop, R&B place and things like that. So we go, and I snuck in a large bottle of tequila. It was cold out. So these are key points that I'm saying right now. Okay, it was cold out. I got a bottle of tequila in my jacket. They let us in. I go in there. I'm pouring little shots for people. Hey, drink this. And I'm drinking a little bit and things like that. At some point throughout the night, I was on the table dancing. Now, I don't know what happened to my clothes.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure someone does.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I just don't know. Because, like, I, I don't remember too much about it, but so this is all speculation right now, from what people have told me. They were like, no, Tony, you was on the table, you had your jacket swinging it around, and, I was like, well, do anybody know what happened to my clothes?
Yeah.
Because I ended up waking up the next day in the back of my buddy's car. And I had on one sock. One sock. I don't know where the rest of my clothes went. I was like, why am I out here in the cold with no clothes? Right? And I'm out in front of my buddy's house. And of course he left me in the back seat. He was like, I wasn't dealing with you. You're like,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah, well,
crazy.
that's
And
fair.
yeah, yeah, no, I understand now. I definitely understand. But I'm sure there's a video out there somewhere. Woo-wee. And that was just one incident. And I'm just like, whoever has that video, please don't let it resurface. If you're out
No,
there
God.
listening, please don't do that to me. Okay. I've come too far in my life to be reminded of that. If you are watching it, just keep it to yourself. We don't need to talk.
Yeah.
We don't. We
Oh my God,
don't.
that's hilarious. Yeah. I hope you held on to that sock though. It might have been your lucky sock.
No, no, I got rid of that sock. Because I ain't no sense of having one sock to remind you of a night that you can't remember, right? I mean,
Funny.
Bad enough that I remember the table.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Hopefully
I
nothing else comes back.
Ooh, if it does, I'm blaming somebody else. I'm not. I'm not
Uh,
going. I'm not going out like that, Jennifer. I'm not
I
going out
know.
like that, right?
I
Now,
hear you.
when it comes down to helping families and things like that, I want to go for the last few years um, with the state of the world
Mm,
and how it has been. Do you think because and the reason why I pose this question the way that I am because pre-COVID, we kept trying to tell people that there's a problem with
hmm
mental health, with their addictions, with all of these things, the mental health, well, not just the mental health, but the homelessness and
Yeah.
all of these things that came along with it, and no one wanted to listen to us.
Mm-mm.
Do you think there has been a change in the way that we have approached these situations in society now versus before? More awareness, more resources, etc. Right? If we've normalized a lot of the things that are coming about nowadays.
hmm
In my own thoughts, right? And again, these are just my own thoughts and my own opinion
hmm
about this. Um, but what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's become more normalized to get people to ask for help nowadays?
So yeah, I have a lot of, I have some thoughts, I think. I do think you are right. I think there are more resources out there. I think a lot of them are geared towards the alcoholic or the addict.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, there are so many different resources and YouTube channels and social media accounts that have popped up of people who are sharing their story from different views and I think those are all fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, but you at the end of the day, you can't make an alcoholic get help. They have to want to get help.
Hmm.
And so I do think that there is more light on it. I think that the stigma of alcoholism or being an addict isn't as bad as it used to be. And I do think that we kind of, I don't want to say we joke about it a little bit, like, oh, so and so, like, oh, um, there's that joke, especially in your like 20s, 30s, where you're like, oh, yeah, so and so's an alcoholic, or like they drink a lot. And it was just this like, oh, they drink a lot, they're an alcoholic. Now it has meaning behind it. Like it
Hmm.
really, I feel like now after COVID, there's that there like so and so is an alcoholic, and we take that word more seriously.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
just from my again, just my thoughts on it. But it
Right.
is, yeah. I think when somebody says that, it's taken more seriously than in, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older, and I'm like, you know,
Understood.
maybe it's the 20 somethings are still going, oh, so and so's an alcoholic. Ha 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 ha. But now like if somebody says so and so's an alcoholic, I'm like, oh, really? Like, I think we there's different versions. Maybe again, it's generational, but I do think that people are more aware of it.
Hmm.
You do see, and I mean, I have friends who are in their early 30s, and they they just choose not to drink anymore.
Right. Right.
And I think there is that shift of like, oh, it's not good. Like it's not good for us.
Hmm.
Um, and there's so many resources now for it. Like you can get help on an app if you're an alcoholic. You could track like your sobriety. You can go to meetings online, right? Like I think that people are taking it more seriously, But at
This
the
is
end of the
very true.
day, the alcoholic still has to be the one that makes the change.
That is very true. And another thing I wanted to add to what you're saying because I totally agree with about it being a lot more normalized, about it being people taking it a lot more serious now.
Mhm.
When we begin to think about this, and I think a lot of it comes from the losses that people are enduring, right?
Yeah.
They finally starting to understand the seriousness of it, And when you talk about generational, let's just say I'm glad that there was no evidence of the things that happened when I was younger. Right?
Right.
As far as if you hear anything, it's just a rumor. It's just a rumor. I don't have to. I'm not confessing to anything.
Yeah.
But I want to get your thoughts on this. You know, when it comes down to people in the industry, and this is one of the challenges that I have seen.
Mhm.
A lot of people come into this area of service to other people with the best intentions at in their heart. But I find that one of the challenges is that um, they come in with false expectations of how they think things are supposed to be. And then when they get a dose of reality, a lot of times they find out that this is not for them,
Mm.
right? What in your thoughts? What do you think is the biggest challenges that we face moving forward in service to other people in these areas of gifting?
That's a that's a really great question. From my standpoint and my thoughts on it, I think the hardest thing that I'm going to have to get through to other people who are in these situations is that they can create their own security.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
Creating your own security. And how important do you think it is for people to have the lived experience versus book knowledge? Because I know in my own
Mhm.
thoughts, I would prefer somebody who have had the experience of
Mhm.
walking the path of being an addict or grief,
Mhm.
finding healing and recovery versus someone who's came in and said, I like the way that this looks.
Mhm.
Let me read these books. Let me get this certification, but also don't have the deep embedded understanding of someone who has.
I'm 50-50 on that because I think people are um we're different. Everyone's different. Like some people really need that connection to somebody who has gone through it with them and can feel it
Hmm.
and they're a very empathetic kind of like person and they're an empathetic learner and they can feel a person's energy and I
Hmm.
think other people are book people and they
Hmm.
need the knowledge, right? They need to learn as much as they possibly can to feel safe and secure and prep for themselves for like, oh, this could be happening. This is what this looks like. Or so I think it's both. I think we need both because I think people absorb energy and they learn and they move forward at their own in their own lanes.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I'm a visual learner. I'm an empathetic learner. Like same with you. I love being with people who have been through what I've been through.
Hmm.
On the flip side, I do like to read about research and people who have no, I don't want to say biased opinion, but people who don't have a connection or an emotional connection and can
Hmm.
give me white and black,
Mm.
where there's just that, there's no gray area. It's this is what the data says, this is what I've learned kind of thing. And then I kind of find my own like happy medium. But I don't know, I think it I think there's a space for both.
Okay, okay. I like that. I like that because I do see the balance that comes in between it. Um, but again, preference is everything. I think that's
Mhm.
when it comes down to it, I say people find the support that works for you,
Yep.
right? And not what works for everyone else.
Mm-mm.
You got to be very specific. Be very open, but
Mhm.
be set those boundaries when you go in there and be intentional about what you're looking for, right? And come in with a checklist. Like, does these things check? And if not majority of the checklist that I have, does it check all of the boxes on what I'm looking for support? But
Mhm.
also be open to how once you get to certain stages in your development and healing and understanding that your support needs are going to change,
Yeah,
right?
agreed.
And I think it's important as practitioners
Mhm.
in this field to learn how to pivot and understanding when a person has reached a level, maybe they outgrow us, right?
Mhm.
But also not letting ego and pride step in and going,
Mhm.
hey, let me find you someone who could take you the rest of the way, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and I think that's what your app does. It gives people
Yeah.
those opportunities or those options of being able to go, okay, I've outgrown this right here. Let me go back into this app and see what's next.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Okay,
it allows you to build that community,
right.
right? So there's other people in there going through what you're going through that you can connect with emotionally if you want, or you can connect with the professional side and get
Mhm,
the data. And then you can interpret the data however you want to interpret it, right? What however
mhm.
your situation is. But it's important to have both. I mean, it really is because there are some times where you're like, I don't care what any of the data says or what I should be doing or whatever. I want somebody who can say, yes, I get you. This sucks. Let's get through the next 24 hours together. And then
Mhm.
you can just move on. And then you can find what's next for you.
I love that. I love that. Now,
Mhm.
as we begin to wrap this up, unless I'm gonna pose this question to the audience before we begin to wrap it up. Anybody else have any thoughts or comments that you would like to ask either myself or Jennifer before we wrap up, or maybe share some of your own experiences with her
Yeah.
and things like that. And if so, just put them inside of there. If we don't get to them now, they're going to be on the channel and things like that, and we'll be sure to answer those and things
Mhm.
like that. So Jennifer, before I cut you loose, and everything, um, one, I got two questions for you. One, how can people find you?
Yeah, you can go find us on Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, all of the socials at ConnectMio. And then just yeah, you DM me or send me a message or comment on any of the social posts in there. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to help people just connect and bring to light that you're not alone.
Mhm.
This is happening to a lot of people, and there is always a way to get through it.
I love that. I love that. So my second question to you would be, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. My kids ask me these things all the time. Um, my superpower would honestly be it's going to be something kind of silly, to be honest.
Yes, no.
It would be time travel so I could move. It would literally be like move faster and experience the world. I love travel. And so, I mean, I love flying as well, but if I could just pop over to, you know, another country, another place for a couple hours, couple days, it'd be awesome.
That's not a silly that's not a silly answer, right? That's a perfect answer
There's
considering.
so little time. We have so little time to experience life and the world, and there's so much of it that I still want to experience and do, and that would be my ultimate like, yeah.
Is it so little time or that we have a hard time managing our time?
I don't know. I'm a Virgo. I manage my time very
Oh,
well.
see, I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo. My younger sister is my sister is a Virgo, and
Uh-huh.
I would tell you like a lot of similarities there, and I'm just like, I get it, I get it, right?
Yep. Yep.
But what life experiences, the lessons that life has taught me is that you have the perfect amount of time
Mm-hmm.
to do exactly what you would like to do in this world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right?
you do.
Nothing is ever wasted. Like when I see you, Jennifer, I know that nothing was wasted. Your experiences that you have had to endure and grow and heal from, and talk to see your passion in the work that you do and creating this app and
Mm-hmm.
connecting other with other individuals. I know that nothing was ever wasted. Your time and
Yeah.
things like that was very well spent. And that's the reason why I say what I say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. So one other thing I got to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
if you could leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with?
I would leave with love,
Mm,
just love. No matter how hard it is, you have to love you to be able to love somebody else
mm,
and help them through whatever it is. So if you're having a hard time in whatever situation you're in, whether you want to stay, whether you want to go, you need to love you first. You need to set those boundaries and love you before you can actually get through whatever you're dealing with.
mm. I love that. I love that. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up because I know you probably got a busy day ahead of you out there in sunny Las Vegas. So many things going on right now in the world, and the springtime is coming. And I've heard the
Mhm.
rumors out in Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but we ain't gonna get into that. Okay,
No,
we
not
ain't gonna
today.
get
Maybe
into
that's another episode.
it. Yeah, that's a totally different episode. We're gonna leave that one where it needs to be. No, I
Yeah.
love Vegas. I have a couple friends that live out there. I'm going to be coming out there next couple of months. I got a friend who's getting married. My friend Stephen Diamond, and
Oh.
so I'm going to be going out there seeing him and attending his wedding. And I have another friend out there who's putting on a magic show. So I'm going to
Oh,
be out there attending
fun.
a lot of those
Yeah.
different things. So
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to that. And
Uh,
and with that being said, for everyone out there who have been tuning in, man, from Instagram, I see you guys over there. Thank you for you guys' comments and things like that. And just sharing your experiences too
mhm.
on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch. I see you guys over there as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. And of course, if you enjoy these conversations, do me a favor and you think I'm worthy of it, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And of course, if you know anyone who could benefit from the conversations that we have, please share this with them. But most
Yeah.
importantly, you guys already know that this podcast serves a lot of different purposes, right? Jennifer will be, I will have Jennifer's info. It's going to be in a YouTube channel. So if you guys know anyone who's looking for support or looking for a place that they can build community with some people who not only, saying walk the walk, but talk the talk,
Hmm.
guys, connect with her, saying, and get the help that you deserve. Build the community that supports you in your journey.
Hmm.
And with that being said, Jennifer, I want to say thank you for joining me today. Thank you for this amazing conversations, sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your journey with us. And I can't wait to see what you do moving forward and everything else. I just know it's just going to be freaking amazing. And
Thank you.
and for everyone else, guys, just going to conclude this episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. I am Tony Lynch. I am the host of this podcast, and we're going to see you guys in the next one. We are out.
Thank you.